and gentlemen. Ari off the board immediately. Many respect. A lot of respect going to Chenny Boy there, as Nidalee going to be taken off the board as well. Azir also taken away. Chenny Boy hasn't played that one as of yet, but of course a fantastic champion in that mid lane in his own right.
Oh yeah, Azir's just absolutely insane. Even on this patch where I think he had a couple of tweaks, or this might be the patch where he didn't. No, he has had some tweaks. Still very strong, and a lot of these mid laners have been playing it, picking it up, making sure they understand the champion, and no surprise to see it banned here.
Yeah, no surprises at all, but Nah is going to be taken away here. Rich Gang not wanting to see that one there from the top side. Respecting Carlos's God's previous performance. Kalista going to be taken off the board here as well. And Day Shifted, he tried his hand at the Kalista, but didn't all go so well in their first matchup.
I mean, everyone's playing Kalista right now. Day Shifted, maybe not the best performance. His Sivir looked a lot better, but Kalista's still, again, a very strong champion. And these teams not really target banning, actually just banning very strong champions on this patch, which is a fine strategy. It'd be interesting to see now as the last ban very meta again. Be interesting to see, because basically both teams should get whatever they want.
Yeah, and especially Team 4Not here, who often cause this ban phase to be quite interesting, what with the likes of Amumu and Wukong and Oriana and all of these comfort picks for the likes of Moya and Naya there from the jungle and mid lane. Hasn't happened this time around, and we'll see whether 4Not they go back to some of these comfort champions, as Naya not going to be doing that, as Lee Sin's the hover.
Yeah, that's a very standard, and it does get locked in there as well. So, I mean, 4Not going to start the drop very slowly here, picking up, again, a comfort champion here. Lee Sin, basically the comfort pick for every jungler that plays a competitive. He's so good, and has been so good for so long. But for Rich Gang, taking their time weirdly in this draft. They normally pick very quickly, but again, if they play like they have been in the last few weeks, whatever they want in this game, they're going to get.
Well, it's true, and Rich Homie, that Malphite's available. Huey, the Vi is available, which he's really loved. Using that Vault Breaker to get in, and then the Assault and Battery to lock down a target is fantastic for that pick-focused comp that they're going for, but see what they do decide to lock in here is actually Huey, he's only played Vi.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, and you mentioned it before. I know that Rich Gang basically only play pick comps. That's how they get their dragons. They find something, they lane reasonably well, they find a pick by getting vision in, and then they just take a dragon, and they keep taking dragons, and it doesn't really matter if you only have a 2-threat comp. You're able to get whatever you want once you get the 5 dragons.
And speaking of power picks here as well, the Lissandra locked in, and a flex pick here as well. We saw it from Moya into that mid lane, also picking it away from him this time. Moya immediately hovering over that Oriana here, as well as Carlos has got looking at that Aurelia throughout the OCS, 2-0 on that champion, doing fantastically as they moved through that tournament. So wouldn't be surprised if these ones got locked in, but Janna going into the hands of Destiny here as well.
I mean, you have to be careful. It's really dangerous to pick both of your solo lanes when the flex pick for the solo lane's on the other side. Like, Aurelia is going to be fine in basically any matchup. That's a safe pickup, but leaving your bottom lane to last pick here when you now, the enemy laner now knows that Oriana's going to be in the mid lane, just means that you open yourself up to getting Lissandra. And Lissandra, pretty good against quite a few mid lane champions, so Oriana probably quite safe.
Yeah, one of the sort of safest options there for the mid lane, but we saw wasn't very safe against the likes of Choo Choo's Syndra, who just destroyed him over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Oriana just does one thing very well, team fight. She lanes fairly safely. She bullies in at least the early levels in a lot of ways, but other than that, it's just kind of, hey, I do my thing, I put my ball on the initiator, and we go in from there. But if you never get to that phase, and Choo Choo's constantly caught that Ori in transition, you just never get to where you want to be. And if Rich King, again, want to play that pick style, that's bad news potentially for Moya's Ori.
It is, and speaking of pick potential coming through here, the hover is this Rek'Sai, and she is incredible at getting around that map, as we saw utilized already today multiple times. Really fantastic use of that ult to really make yourself in exactly where you need to be, and the picks could easily be coming through. And of course, with the burst potential from Corki, it's a great combo as they both get locked in.
Yeah, and it's just awesome mid-game here coming through for Rich King. Again, no real surprises at this point. No. They're playing, I mean, the champions are a bit different, to be fair. They've shifted quite a lot since the qualifier, I feel like, but they always play a very similar sort of style. Get aggressive in the mid-game, take the dragons, snowball the game from there, and honestly, that's all we've seen from them, because they win most of their games.
Yeah, they do. Rich Gang have been fantastic thus far and looking to really come through. Of course, they could pull what Legacy did in our first day here of Week 2, which was to really come back strong and smash their opposition. And after falling down in the first loss, respond big. And this is Rich Gang's opportunity to do so and really claim that top spot here, tied with Legacy.
Yeah, and 4Not looking for a first win as well. So taking quite a lot of time here with those picks. And I don't know what's really happening. We'll give it a couple more seconds, but C&J was trolling us.
He was, as was Zeldo. And of course, Zeldo loves that disengaged flavor, the peel for C&J here. They act so well as this cohesive unit there on the bottom side of the map that I am not surprised in the slightest to see that Nami coming through. And especially not that Caitlyn, of course, playing it all the way through that OCS was C&J. We'll see what Rich Gang do to round out their comp. They could pick either a top or a mid laner here.
I mean, it's funny as well when you talk about C&J because he's such almost a binary player in the bottom lane. He has played a lot of Graves recently. He's looked quite good on that, but his comfort really seems to be Ezreal or Caitlyn, which are two pretty polarizing champions.
Oh yeah, either wanting to go for that poke and really get in your face with that mobility from Ezreal, or just sit back and farm for the majority of the game.
I mean, they're both very safe, which makes sense. C&J clearly a player that values his positioning and being able to make sure he stays safe and does consistent damage in the fights. That's why he hasn't looked that comfortable on Graves to me, despite playing it quite well. So be interested to see if this is what 4Not need to really boost it up, because C&J for 4Not was the shining light during their qualifier.
Oh yeah, he was fantastic, and especially his Ezreal performances that you mentioned. Really, really looking great on that champion. Had mixed results on that Caitlyn, but did manage to come through with a lot of victories for them as well. So we'll see whether they can capitalize on it. And no tank lineup coming through here from Rich Gang, just unless Huey can get to this big stage of Rek'Sai where, you know, a Warmogs could come through Randu and Zoman here as well, but you don't get as much money from that jungle. And with Lissandra and Xerath, maybe a little bit squishy.
Yeah, I mean, double AP here for Rich Gang, so even 0 to, I guess, 1 tank here with the Rek'Sai, who will very likely be going tank here. Be super surprised if a Trinity Force randomly appeared, but who knows here what could happen. But again, very strong stuff just coming through. I like the Corki kind of pushing through the mid-game. Janna is, again, always seen as a very passive, reactive sort of laner, but syncs up with Corki just fine. Corki's pretty confident on his own in almost any lane, even although Caitlyn might give him a little bit of trouble, and Chenny Boy going to go back to something he's a bit more comfortable on. A decent matchup here against Orianna. Can bully and push around Ori if he feels like it. And Rich Gang, again, all about the picks. This comp just screams pick comp.
Yeah, and it's very different, though, coming through from that mid lane to that Syndra. And you have to think that Moya might have a better time in this lane than he otherwise did on a champion that he's extraordinarily comfortable on. And if you've been just following the OPL since it started, Moya does not tend to go 0-4-0 on Orianna in lane. That is not what he does. This is a comfort champion for him, and we'll see whether he can prove it to us here. I
mean, a tough game, of course, against Legacy's mid laner. Choo-Choo's is not a bad League of Legends player, shall we say. But, I mean, Rich Gang, they have the comp that they wanted here. 4Not, I feel like, are comfortable with their bottom lane especially. You mentioned Zelda liking that peel. Nami's a great champion into Janna as well, and Caitlyn's very good into Corki. So, Rich Gang might even look for a lane swap, but that could get awkward. Actually, Lissandra's fine in a lane swap, so that would be okay. Interested to see what they want to do here, but in general, everyone very safe. That's probably good news for these two teams who are relatively close so far.
Yeah, but if we have a look at how they play out their games here as well, you're saying safe. That is definitely correct. But, I mean, on the side of Rich Gang, they've got what they want. They have that mid-game power. And this could be just the Rich Gang snowball all over again.
I mean, that's the wins that we've seen from this team, right? They usually, again, go big or go home. They're a very big winning team. When they win massive. When they lose, it just looks like nothing is ever going right. Trini Boy to go from a pentakill on Ari to one of his worst, probably professional Orianna games in his career. He's a fantastic Orianna player.
Yeah.
It's just night and day when Rich Gang win or lose here, and it's all about that dragon control. Can they keep on top of it? With this comp, they can, but if 4Not know that, that's a habit that's exploitable.
Yeah, it is. And they can concede the first couple of dragons here as well on the side of 4Not. And if they get Aurelia to be a huge monster in that front line and have this Orianna with devastating shockwaves, it's going to be difficult for Rich Gang.
I mean, Aurelia's fine in this lane as well. That's sort of the thing that's interesting is that all of the lanes here for 4Not are really safe. Yeah. They played maybe a little too aggressive with their laning. I think there was a Rise top going on. There was like... 4Not doing some different things.
Carlos had an interesting pick phase.
And it's fine, but they just played a little too late game oriented. So they have some decent insurance here, but they've got a lot of good mid-game now coming through as well. So these lanes are fine for 4Not. They're very safe. They're actually probably favored in at least 2 of them, and Orianna's probably a wash. So Rich Gang aren't going to get free lanes here. So it's a matter of, especially these junglers who are quite aggressive early, need to get some stuff going.
Yeah, and Nia on sort of the only early game pressure that they have on their team. Of course, Caitlyn fantastic in the first few levels, but then has that trough until she gets about 3 items. And Nia, if he influences his lanes, and it gets especially that top lane going, if Carlos's God can get to that gigantic Aurelia stage, man, things could go horribly wrong here for Rich Gang, but... 4Not have definitely shown as well that they can make those decisive moves. Didn't quite manage to against the Chiefs, who are the juggernaut of the Oceanic region, but against Team Immunity, they were taking inhibitors at 20 minutes into the game, able to capitalize on poor rotations.
Yeah, I mean, they've shown that they can absolutely snowball a game as well. And again, when Rich Gang lose, it looks like they're all over the map and just not the big synergistic team we've seen them be. So 4Not have plenty of room here. One of the things I love about the way their lanes shake out, Lee Sin, of course, very versatile and able to apply pressure if he wants to. So there's lots of options here for Nia to go in and affect these lanes. And you mentioned the Caitlyn power trough. I love that Aurelia, when she gets Trinity Force, kind of covers for that and gives plenty of space for CNJ.
Yeah, and they sort of round out each other's power curves here as well, because in the mid lane, wanting to go for that Morellonomicon, that's even earlier there. So, of course, Moya adding that sort of flavor as well. So if they start grouping up, I mean, they're going to have spikes throughout this game, which is working out fantastically. And, of course, you've got a Nami to augment that Caitlyn, give her that Tidecaller's Blessing. If that one's maxed first or second even, going to be adding a whole lot more utility to that Caitlyn pickup to cover that trough.
Yeah, and there's plenty of a group. Again, if 4Not are going to play around anyone in this game, it's they carry CNJ. He's shown time and time again that he can hard carry games when he's feeling comfortable and he's got a good start. It's just a Matic and 4Not, give it to him, and a Rich Gang just going to run all over this mid game.
Yeah, could be a worry here as well. And Chenny Boy has shown to be a massive player. Of course, his Ahri performances, stunning. The first pentakill for the OPL already in week 1. That's ridiculous. Now, on the likes of Xerath, who has a lot of high mechanical play required, if you're going to hit all of those abilities, if you're going to land the Rite of the Arcane in the right spots, I mean, I'm happy giving him to the hands of Chenny Boy, who's just shown so much prowess so far. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are onto the Rift with 4Not taking on Rich Gang. And let's see exactly how this one shakes out. Already a defensive line being set up.
Yeah, and just want to make sure that they've got all their entrances covered. We see this a lot with teams when they don't have a specific level 1 that they're really rooting for. They like to just go in and make sure they've got everything covered, because there's nothing worse in this jungle, especially than having everything just fall to pieces.
Oh, yeah, and so far it's just the defensive warding across the river. And Rich Homie on this Lissandra into Aurelia. We haven't discussed this matchup. How do you think this is going to shake out, especially in this early stage?
I mean, Aurelia almost always splits every lane and starts winning most of them as well. There aren't very many lanes where Aurelia, once she hits level 9, loses. And against Lissandra especially, her wave clear is great. Aurelia will struggle in the early levels potentially, but Lissandra doesn't really have kill pressure onto Aurelia. Her passive actually is ridiculous in this matchup, because all of that CC from Lissandra just gets reduced so much, even just in a 1v1 situation. So Carlos is going to be very safe, and that lane tips fairly quickly.
Yeah, so we'll see whether Huey does lend some help there to the top side, or whether Rich Homie just wants to farm it out and then use that high-impact ultimate across this map. We know that Rich Gang, they love to collapse onto skirmishes and do so very, very quickly. But we saw in 4Not's game versus the Chiefs, they were rotating so fast around that map.
Yeah, and again, at 4Not here, they're going to try and catch a lot of Rich Gang early on in the lanes here. They have Lee Sin here. Nia going to start on the Krugs, probably moving into red there, so does have some early pressure if he wants it. And if Lee Sin can influence these lanes, and 4Not can use, especially the spike in their bottom lane for the early levels, if they can start making moves early, that makes Rich Gang's very mid-game centric, dragon objective control taking comp much weaker.
Oh, yeah. Now, Rich Homie going to continue this pressure, putting it on, and of course, able to farm out these waves early, and Carlos has got, he's actually putting the pain onto Rich Homie already.
That was a really sick trade there by Carlos. He's got recognizing that he had an opening, and Lissandra, make no mistake, she's a mate here in the top lane. Very squishy base stats.
And especially at level 1 as well as he comes through. Ring of Frost now going to be picked up, so next time Carlos's God comes into his face, he's probably going to just use that one and stop him right in his tracks.
I mean, Aurelia's actually surprisingly competitive in that lane, I feel like. I mean, all of Lissandra's damage comes from, you know, especially against melee champions, hitting you with a Q in your wave, harassing you out, and then once you come in or once she goes in, using the W to lock you up and continuing to throw spells at you, but it doesn't last that long against with the passive from Aurelia, and Carlos Gog could just turn around and slap her in the face.
Yeah, no worries at all, as Nia putting some pressure on in this mid lane. Misses the Sonic Wave by next to a country mile.
just getting
going to move out.
Just getting a bit of pressure at least. But Huey's actually found him.
Yeah, ooh, Scuttle Crab going to be started here. Huey's going to knock him up. Does have the level advantage here as well as he takes the Sonic Wave. Nia is going to have to get out of here. Flashes the stun beautifully there as Dissonance going to come down into Chenny Boy. Moya, though, may have gone overly aggressive. There's a flash into the knock-up there as well. Command Protect comes round. Oh, resonating strike here onto Chenny Boy as he gets ignited. The Clockwork wind-up trying to do some work, but Moya falls down. First blood for Chenny Boy. Beautiful play
And that was
from the Rich Gang.
so well played by Chenny Boy there as well. I think my favorite thing was not just hitting the slow, but waiting, because he actually got enough experience wandering back to get to level 3 and get his stun, which forced Nia to flash. And from then on, Rich Gang had complete control of that area.
Yeah, Bubble does land on that bottom side as Nia be forced to head back. Can't take any more camps after those Raptors that have claimed the lives of many a jungler.
They're scary, man. We talked about it. The Raptors do quite a lot of damage. The little ones especially, they're dangerous. But they're going to go back now. And Chenny Boy also with fantastic use of terrain in that exchange as well. Able to flash late over the wall and make sure to pick up the kill with his Q. And again, Nia just didn't do enough damage and was too low to really help Moya in that fight.
Yeah, and also after getting caught out there as well, it's just great positioning from Huey and use of that knock-up multiple times in that fight, really turning it around for them. Whereas here on the bottom side, everything quite even. CNJ, of course, is going to have that range advantage, able to harass from range very effectively. Just going to wander out of that phosphorus bomb as Zaldo takes a fair bit. But, of course, having that level of sustain as well on that bottom side really helps out the Caitlyn lane.
Yeah, and this is just what the problem with Janna into Nami is. Janna can only prevent damage with the shield. She can't realistically heal it except with her ulti, which is probably not the best use of Monsoon. And the ebb and flow is so good in these sort of trades as well. Look at CNJ just going in there. Good. Bubble just going to miss.
Yeah, it was beautifully played by CNJ there on the bottom side as Day shifted. Forced out entirely, not going to be backing because, of course, that wave is going to push in, but this is the Rich Gang style. They're going to start off this Dragon at 5.5 minutes.
And this is the best thing to do here. It's actually very sneaky given that 4Not have pushed so aggressively here for the bottom side. So Huey knows his limits here on this Rex side, going to get some help with Chenny Boy. Decent juggling as well. And this is a very sneaky Dragon by Rich Gang.
Yeah, already down to 1,500 health. No idea on the side of 4Not. This is going to be taken away in first Dragon already. We're talking about their Dragon control all the time. And again, excellent from Rich Gang. And they have a 500 gold lead from that first blood already. Things going brilliantly so far in the early stages. But you have to think that, you know, all of the scaling could be coming out here from 4Not.
Yeah, things off to a great start for Rich Gang. Getting that Dragon, given the fact that Day Shifter had, I think, 100 health or so in that bottom lane.
Yeah.
Very impressive. Also held on to all of his summoners. So Rich Gang, let's be frank here, they stole that Dragon from 4Not.
Yep, no fear at all coming through from Rich Gang as Moya going to clear out these minions, continue to farm up. Of course, Orianna probably one of the best champions for satisfaction of farming. It's just brilliant.
He's got a pretty satisfying auto there as well. But Day Shifter will return here to the bottom lane. And Corki, not that many items actually.
Yeah, unable to finish off that phage. We did see this coming through, of course. Often first backs are going to be sort of those components of the phage, just because even by themselves, they're fantastic. The extra health for the trading potential, and of course that longsword just giving you that extra bit of damage in order to clear out the creeps, and of course add some harass there as well. CNJ does have that pickaxe and the boots here as well, as Day Shift is going to go very far towards this tower and try and clear out this minion wave. CNJ more than happy to sit under this turret, farm up these creeps. 11 CS in the lead for this Caitlyn, but that's to be expected in the first few rounds.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually not the best. Yes, it does get hit by a tornado, but we'll be okay for now. And this is sort of one of the interesting dynamics about bottom lane when you have a Trinity Force user versus someone like a Caitlyn who really benefits from a lot of flat AD. Trinity Force is an amazing item, especially for Corki. He's probably the single best AD carrier using that item. But Caitlyn right now, with all of that range especially, and how well she scales with flat AD, when it's just components versus components, Caitlyn has a big edge, especially when the BS sword comes out. But as soon as Trinity Force finishes for Corki, that flips immediately.
Yeah, but here's the Rich Gang crew coming round to destroy Moya out of nowhere. Beautiful roam from Rich Homie in the top lane. Nia trying to defend this middle lane, but look at all the wave clear. Another parade of minions to come down, and the stun lands on Nia. They're diving, and Huey picks up the kill.
Yeah, really nice dive there for Rich Gang, and poor communication there from 4Not's top lane. You have to think Rich Homie basically waddled down to the mid lane there for that gank, and that's the power of Lissandra. Her laning is very safe. It's not usually oppressive, especially in the top lane, but her team fight control, especially in the early mid game, is ridiculous.
Yeah, and we saw that demonstrated right there as soon as Rich Homie hit that level 6 mark. Straight in there and picks up a kill for his troubles as well. 2 assists now. sitting on that top laner. He's going to be able to go back and have extra items to be able to contend with Carlos's God.
Yeah, and Lissandra's off to a good start here. I mean, Carlos does have to power up. He's got his Sheen to make the trading potential that much better here against Rich Homie. But if Rich Homie's just casually free-farming his lane when he's there and leaving it to roam and get kills when he's not, Carlos's God isn't doing anything in that lane.
Oh, yeah, and already Moya getting picked on once again. 0-2-0 now on this Oceania. And you have to think that it's largely to do with respect from Rich Gang focusing that lane a lot. But once again, just a disappointing performance.
I mean, Chenny might have called for help, actually. I didn't notice until I looked down. He's 20 CS behind this Oceania despite the 2 kills. So
yeah.
Chenny actually, he'll be ahead in gold, I assume, because of his scoreline. But that's not what I expected at all in this matchup. Moya playing that very well.
Oh, yeah, and CNJ and Zelda doing a great job in this bottom lane as well as Huey. He's looking for Moya again. The poor guy. Rich Homie's going to get aggressed on here. Look at the damage from that Sheen. Transcendent Blades procking it out. Doesn't want to dive, but Rich Homie not going to be able to come near this creep wave and does have the teleport. Can come back to that lane, but it means that next Dragon might be contestable here.
I mean, Carlos's God must have had Blade Surge on cooldown there because that was an easy flash Q for the victory. Unfortunately, no low minions for him to jump to save that flash, but Q is going in.
Oh my gosh, right of the Arcane as well, gets dodged out by CNJ. Every bolt, the double knock-up coming down here as well as Huey. He's going to get exhausted. The flash from Chenny Boy, the heal from CNJ. They turn it around. Chenny Boy dies. CNJ picks up the kill. There's the Frozen Tomb in the bottom side. They do pick up a couple in answer, but 4Not are here. 3 versus 2. There's the Shockwave to come down to the bottom lane as well. Naya, he's going to kick out Homie J. The knock-up lands onto Huey as well, but they're not going to be able to pick up the kills as there are 2 solo members on the side of Rich Gang, and they back away, somehow getting a 2-for-1.
Yeah, crazy that that trade went the way it did. You mentioned the sweet knockups there as well coming through for Rich Gang. Sick bubble there by Zaldo landing to peel off there. You mentioned he likes to play peel supports. I can understand why with that bubble. That was on point and almost saved the team as well. CNJ getting healed there by Zaldo as well. Let's watch this again. So Huey's going to go in, look for a knockup, and just gets immediately bubbled out. The right of the Arcane Ball getting dodged at the same time. Huey flashes back for the next knockup, but CNJ getting healed there and uses his heal and gets ebb and floated. Chenny Boy, who has a very predictable W there, isn't able to get the kill, but Rich Gang, ulti's still up there for Rich Homie, able to get them the next kill here, and Moya does get the shockwave, but they don't have nearly enough flat damage to kill anyone else. Rich Homie and Dayshift are actually still pretty tanky. Naya doesn't really have any damage, and they're going to turn it around. Everyone's going to walk away from here, but Rich Gang, very clean 2-for-1.
Yeah, beautifully played. Carlos has got looking to put more pressure onto Rich Homie as he just has a giggle at him. I'm just going to clear out these minions, and of course, if Carlos's God finds his way onto the face of Rich Homie, then he's going to be able to smack him down. And of course, as we saw when he had to escape under his turret, but if he can kite him around, it's no problem here for Lissandra.
Yeah, and that is Lissandra's MO in almost every matchup, especially range versus melee. That's why part of why she's so good in top lane is that she just has a very non-interactive playstyle with a lot of popular melee top laners. But Aurelia is one of the few that can actually play around her passive again. Ridiculous in this matchup. And once Carlos has got keep powering up, and already with the Sheen he started to do it, he can bully that Lissandra around. So Rich Homie falling behind in CS, but doing the right thing, moving in to make sure he can team fight with his team, because that's where he makes the most impact.
Yeah, and this time 4Not, they are fully aware of this Dragon going down. It gets pulled out of the pit, so not going to be able to find the Sonic Wave as Naya tries to come around, steals the Dragon. There's the Shockwave here as well. Moya's going to get caught up. Rich Homie is going to get aggressed on here from Naya. Kicked back into the pit here as well as Destiny finds himself all on his own. He's going to be able to pick up the kill, though, onto Moya as Dayshifter comes around. They single out CNJ. Right of the Arcane are going to come through, but doesn't need to as the Q is enough. And 2 dead again on the side of 4Not, but they get the Dragon.
I mean, they got the Dragon. I think they'll take the trade, but that was a really interesting fight. Rich Gang waited so patiently, kept 4Not almost baited behind that Dragon Wall, and it's like, nice, found Huey.
Yeah, Destiny en route as well, and Naya did not really understand the damage possible.
He regrets his decisions.
Yeah. Mistakes were made.
Mistakes have in fact been made. Huey even going to get a award for it as well. So Rek'Sai with the Warrior enchant they're already done. That explains a lot of that damage.
Oh yeah, 3-0-3 on this Rek'Sai, and Naya maybe just forgot to press tab before going for that fight after landing that Sonic Wave. Rek'Sai going to shriek at the jungle yet again and pick up some Raptors.
Yep, tower does go down as well. Dayshifted walks out of a bubble. But he's going to go back, and he might be close to that Trinity Force, actually. Having a quick check. Not quite there, but he's going to have the choice of his next component and most into the next one as well. So probably going to be that Phage and some parts of Azeel.
Yeah, and as well, look, Rich Gang are poised so perfectly for when that transformation comes through, from when that Trinity Force is picked up here from Day Shifted, because they already have this huge lead for this stage in the game. And when that Trinity Force comes down, they can just use the Sheen procs to just get rid of all of the turrets. Probably that top lane going to be their next option, and it's going to be very hard for 4Not to struggle their way back into this match.
I mean, it's actually very fortuitous that Nia got the Dragon Steel that he did. If you look at Rich Gang's items here, they built completely to take those first 2 dragons there. You see the double Morellonomicon very aggressive, and even the early Warrior from Huey getting aggressive as well. They basically played without Corki's Trinity Force, knowing that they had to get aggressive, and losing that Dragon with a great steal from Nia, despite the 2 kills that they lost there as well. That's a big deal here. Rich Gang, we talk about their Dragon control. They just lost one.
Yeah, well, it's true, and we'll see whether it plays on their minds as this game goes on. Of course, Carlos has got unhindered as far as that farm is concerned, still has a 20 CS advantage, 16 CS advantage for Moya there in the mid lane, even though he does have that 0-3-0 scoreline. And there's a 20 CS advantage in the bottom lane as well. Yeah,
I mean, 4Not are doing very well here again. They've got very strong early lanes in a few of their matchups here. I've been super impressed with Moya's ability to stay above Chenny despite all the pressure. And Aurelia and Caitlyn, we already expected it to go well in the early levels, and it is. So things are going well here for 4Not. They've already got a Dragon for themselves. Yes, they're down a few thousand gold, but their comp does very well against Rich Gangs in a straight-up 5v5, especially if Rich Gang don't have control of all of the Dragon. What Rich Gang really want here is that 5th Dragon just to break the mid-game wide open.
Oh yeah, now it's going to take an extra 6 minutes for that one to be available, like you mentioned. Carlos has got now only needs another 800 gold for his Trinity Force, but Day Shifted. Corki Power Spike now met, and you have to think, 3rd Dragon on the map, it's almost definitely going to go to Rich Gang.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think so. It's only their 2nd. They've really, as far as they're concerned, it should be their 3rd, but they'll take it at this point. They've got so much mid-game power. Even Huey going a bit more aggressive. Got a Hex Drinker there in his build as well. And Rich Homie basically going for teamfight with the cooldown boots. They're making sure he has instant 40% CDR, because I'm pretty sure he knows he's not getting blue buffs off Chenny.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Has a bit of that mana regen as well coming through from that Morellonomicon. And of course, Lissandra's passive going to do a fair bit of work conserving that mana as well. But Trinity Force now picked up from Carlos. We'll see whether they can utilize it, whether it's going to be the Aurelia spike or the Corki spike that's going to be coming through that's going to turn the tides of these battles. Of course, there have been decent shockwaves coming through from Moya, but they're just not doing the damage they need to. And if he can translate this gold lead into those offensive stats, if he gets a Ravenous Death Gap, even if he picks up the Zhonya's Hourglass for some extra safety as well as some more AP, that could really help out the lineup of 4Not.
I mean, I love that you mentioned specifically Trinity Force there, because we're actually going to have a really interesting point in this game right now. Dragon is back in a minute 40 or so, but this Trinity Force for Aurelia, Carlos wants to stick in the top lane and keep Rich Homie there. He never ever wants Lissandra to be able to teleport away, and he can happily split push right now because Lissandra can't really do anything against that Aurelia. But Corki wants to be with his team, pushing down turrets, starting fights here. So Rich Gang with a strong 4, but if Carlos can keep Lissandra out, a lot of Rich Gang's initiation and teamfight control goes out the window.
And if we have a look down at the wards here as well, on the top side of the map, Rich Gang have complete control, but there's decent vision that's now going to try and get cleared out as Carlos is gone. He got caught, forced to use that flash. Rich Homie is going to try and come through with that Glacial Path, but not going to find it. And man, that was close.
Yeah, and really, honestly, not where Carlos wants to be. He has his teleport. If he really wants to be there for the Dragon fight that's starting in a minute, just teleport to the Dragon when your team goes there. Stick in the top lane, keep Rich Homie there. He almost got killed because he's not that tanky yet. He can brawl, he can drill anyone 1v1 right now with the Trinity Force, but he can't actually fight a whole team. He just has no tank items yet.
Yeah, if he gets focused down, he is still definitely going to melt, especially at the hands of a 3-0-3 Rek'Sai and a 1-0-4 Lissandra. They're doing some work now on this map, and that's not to mention Chenny Boy, who's managed to hit a whole lot of his abilities. Of course, his last ride of the Arcane, a little to be desired, but otherwise doing great. Carlos has got, oh goodness, he's in a lot of trouble. There's the Frozen Tomb. He's going to get out of it relatively quickly, but it doesn't matter because he's dead. And a nice gank rush to come through from Rich Gang.
Yeah, plenty of damage, and Rich Gang doing exactly what they should against the Aurelia. Very predictable movement back top there for Carlos, who's got no flash after roaming to the Dragon and gets picked off easily. In fact, Rek'Sai's even going to run down to the Dragon.
Yeah, and Naya is going to see him come in there, but Huey able to set up. It just popped. Sonic Wave going to aggro that Dragon a little bit. He wanders around looking for whoever made him angry and finds Huey.
I mean, it's pretty absurd that Rich King are able to get back for this dragon after ganking 4 with 4 people in the top lane to kill Aurelia. I mean, Carlos is back here. He still has his teleport if he wants to join the dragon fight, but Rich King got basically a free kill.
And Riot of the Arcane almost kills CNJ outright after 1 Arcane Impulse. Chenny Boy flashes to try and pick up the kill, but doesn't quite find it. Heal is still available from CNJ. Scrying Orb going to spot out this dragon. Naya wants to come through for another steal. It is not going to reset just yet. Oh, it's trying to. Dragon very confused as to what it's doing. Down to about 1,000 health. He goes in, doesn't get the steal this time as Naya's going to flash away as well, but Day Shifted, so much damage, just pops that squishy Lee Sin. And he joins the scoreline of Moya here as well. Moya in trouble. He's going to take a cue for it. And Rich Gang are now walking all over this game.
Yeah, I mean, Rich Homie has his ult here as well and the flash, so Fauna have to be very careful. They actually get clipped by a stun.
There's the unburrow here as well onto Moya as he just gets knocked up and destroyed. Huey in a lot of trouble here as CNJ tries to auto-attack him down, but he's forced over the edge. Destiny picks up the kill with the Ignite. But 4Not, they defend the turret. That's about all they can say about that exchange.
I mean, that was one insane tower dive by Rich Gang. If these guys want to live the thug lifestyle, that was a baller play there. And I mean, I love the swag from Chenny Boy trying to flash max range Q to kill CNJ. But Rich Gang keep up the strong dragon control. That's what we've been harping on about this entire game. I love the distortion upgrade there from Rich Homie as well. Just for he knows what his job is. Get in team fights, get on top of people, and use your team fight control. He's not here for damage. That's everyone else here. Day Shifter can do plenty with the Corki here. And Lissandra, who augments pick comp so well, pairs wonderfully with the mid-game powerhouse Corki.
Oh yeah, and speaking of mid-game powerhouse, Huey, he's now 4-0-5 on this Rek'Sai. He's really showing that Rek'Sai still needs to be banned away. He's very, very strong, especially in the hands of this level of pick potential, because you can be everywhere on the map, and when you're that strong, you can influence fights so fantastically.
Yeah, I mean, the Banker gank is actually making bankier this game. You want to talk about how much money Huey actually has? He has a lazy Sightstone that followed his first 3 items. He finished the Warrior, got the Hex Drinker, finished his Ninja Tabi, and just has a Sightstone because he knows what he wants for his team is more vision.
Yeah, well, exactly, and he may as well pick it up. Probably has a spare 800 gold anyway, just chilling out in his back pocket.
I mean, it's a really weird investment at this point in the game because he never used it for any early game vision, and with the position Rich Gang in, they don't need it, but Rich Gang just want to keep doing what their team and their comp does best. Win at mid-game.
Yep, and it's working out. Transcendent Blade's forced to be used here on the creeps underneath the turret. Carlos has got trying to go in here as Naya. Wow, that Howling Gale was insane from Destiny.
Really nicely timed stuff done. Rich Gang going to reset, continue clearing up vision here. And there's, again, not a whole lot that's going that 4Not can do. They're kind of waiting to scale up. And one of the things I didn't mention that I wanted to was that the mid lane was the big tell here, because the fact that never mind.
Oh gosh, Rich Homie forced to use that Glacial Path to get over the wall, but Carlos has got still with kill pressure up there.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Aurelia, especially with Merc Treads now as well, insanely good against Lissandra 1v1 at this stage of the game. Rich Homie basically needs to finish his Zhonya's to feel safe there, and if Carlos keeps applying split push pressure, there's not a whole lot going on.
And Naya is probably just going to get obliterated here as he tries to get out. Nice 2-man Shockwave to come in, the Monsoon to try and break up the fight. Tidal Wave comes over, Day Shift, and Naya finds himself completely on his own as, wow, Rich Homie just gets torn apart by Moya in the backline somehow. Tried to go for the flank, gets paid for. Naya's going to fall down, but this is a 1-for-1, going fantastically so far for 4Not.
And that was just way too deep from Rich Homie that time. We talk about Lissandra, he is shot range again, going very aggressive, but that was far too aggressive.
Yeah, we do have the Void Rush to come through. Huey makes his presence known there in the mid lane as Preyseek is looking for someone. CNJ happy to play up relatively far with that command protect to come through on top of his head.
CNJ here just trying to clear out some minions here. They want a turret, but Chenny Boy.
The stun lands here as well from Chenny Boy. There's the knock-up coming down, but CNJ not going to die just yet. Carlos has got forced to use that flash once again to try and get out. CNJ, you don't want to be standing around trying to use that ultimate onto Destiny to pick up the kill, but doesn't make it.
Yeah, I mean, again, good peel here for CNJ. Moya and Zaldo managed to keep him alive there just through what was a bit of a weird ulti, like you said, but
yeah.
The push their resets. 4Not still haven't taken that many turrets, and Caitlin's sitting well and truly in a power trough now. And this is the other thing about the mid lane. very dependent on which mid laner gets ahead, because Oriana needs her flat AP, really needs 2 items to start influencing teamfights. You've seen every shotgun has been fine from Moya, but it's just not doing any damage.
Yeah, not quite doing what it needs just yet, but I like the Blasting One pickup here. Obviously going for that Rabadon's Death Cap as the next item, and you can't put yourself further into that trough when you're this far behind by picking up that defensive choice in the Zhonya's Hourglass.
I mean, Rabadon's just so good on Oriana. It almost double scales with the way her shield works as well. It's not just about the damage you can do with your dissonance and your shockwave, but how much shield you can give to your carries like this Caitlyn that does need a bit of help. I mean, Caitlyn getting up with a Zeal now as well, starting to move through a little bit more, but if we want to have to hold on here, Rich Gang have quite a gold lead.
Yeah, they certainly do. They've got a long ways back if they want to get through this game. Of course, 6,000 gold now the lead for Rich Gang. Rich Homie might be caught out here just a little bit. Sonic Wave doesn't get juked as the Ring of Frost is trying to slow down Naya's approach. Just the tip of that Peacemaker is going to hit Homie J. Oh, there's the flash kick coming down onto Rich Homie, but he's going to use that Frozen Tomb just to lock himself up. Naya is going to be safe. Tidal Wave looking for Rich Homie. Naya misses that one, and just the drive-by smite as he tries to head through the backside. Cute play from Naya.
Yeah, really nice. He might actually be in trouble, though. I don't know if there's any way he can go that's safe.
Yeah, the Tremor Sense going to be used here from Huey. Knows exactly where he is. The Prey Seeker, very aptly named, going to be found here. Gets knocked up by that Howling Gale. Naya going to get stunned. Shanny Boy picks up the kill quite easily.
But you know what? Huey might have bought, Naya might have bought enough time there. They actually do get the mid turret, and that's a big deal here for 4Not. They needed some room to maneuver on this map, and now they've got it.
Oh, C&J though, the Rite of the Arcane coming through. There's the flash, and wow, the flash afterwards as well manages to escape the last bolt. As that was an interesting interaction. Destiny, though, on the backside is just going to get eliminated by Moya. Starting to pick up some kills now. Only needs another 840 gold for that Rabadon's Death Cap. And Rich Gang, they waste no time starting up this Dragon yet again for their third.
I mean, 4Not started something there. It's really weird for Elysian to flash kick Lissandra of all champions, but Rich Homie had to burn everything to get out. And again, Naya bought time. Dragon is going to go to Rich Gang. That's not good news for 4Not, but Oriana's getting much stronger now. And the fact that Caitlyn is... Zaldo, by the way, is MVP so far for 4Not here. Every single time CNJ ends up in a very precarious position, Zaldo somehow finds him a way out of it.
Oh, yeah, managing to utilize the exhaust coming through. Of course, the bubble there as well was wonderful onto Huey. Some interesting interaction with... Oh, actually, Dayshifter getting caught by Naya here, gets kicked into the wall, immediately wards and tries to turn it around to CNJ. Almost successful. 100-0 from a Corki.
Yeah, you can see why Corki is the best Trinity Force AD carry in the game. His damage when he has that item is absolutely absurd, and Dayshift is even going for the Duelist build here with a Blade of the Ruin King second. CNJ will not survive that 1v1 anytime soon.
Yeah, and Dayshifter just wants to be able to kill a target if he sees one as well, so that's the way to do it.
Does help against Aurelia as well a little bit, so having self-peel is nice for a Corki here, and Rich Gang continuing to try and strangle this map here. Blue buff going to be fine on anyone here. Definitely want to deny it away from Moya. Oriana, such a mana-hungry champion.
Yeah, Moya looking to try and pick this one up, but it is going to be Rich Homie that grabs it. Does have that Zhonya's Hourglass completed as well for so much untargetability coming out of this Lissandra if he happens to be able to ult himself in the right positions. Howling Gale going to pass on through. Rich Homie going to have to go back to base. Does have the blue buff, but no mana at all, as Rabadon's Death Cap being completed by both of our mid laners.
I mean, Rich Gang have hit some really good power spikes in the last few. We mentioned the Rabadons there. That's come through for Chenny Boy now as well, to couple with his Morellonomicon. The Zhonya's is key there for Rich Homie as well. He's also got a Blasting one, which isn't too bad, but just being able to really impact these fights. Zaldo.
Oh my gosh, there's a Tidal Wave here as well. Rite of the Arcane easily picks up that kill, tries to throw in some more bolts. The double actually hit onto CNJ and Moya. Moya using that Command Protect, but it's definitely not enough. Rich Homie, you're in trouble, buddy, as Carlos going to pick up that kill, gets stunned up by Shanny Boy. Huey now finds his way into the fight. CNJ kills Destiny on the backside, and this is such a bloodbath, this game.
Yeah, nice ulti there from CNJ. Picks up the Janna kill as well. And again, Rich Homie goes way too deep on Lissandra. We talked about him having great teamfight ability and control. Now with the Zhonya's done as well, but that was too far in. Chenny Boy couldn't get in to do realistically any damage except for his ultimate. And when Dayshifter died immediately, the Rich Gang damage dropped massively.
Oh yeah, and now CNJ 3-3-2. Not a bad scoreline for this Caitlyn. Has a Phantom Dancer completed. They're getting through their rough mid-game trough that a lot of their champions share.
I mean, CNJ still has to go through a kind of a crappy experience here with the Caitlyn, still in a power drop, but Phantom Dancer goes a long way to helping her mobility and helping some of these fights. And once she gets to 3.5 items, the real jumping off point for hyper carries, Caitlyn's going to take over this game. Day Shifter, despite all the damage on Corki, he's no late game starch, but he's certainly no Caitlyn.
Yeah, most definitely not. And with this Blade of the Ruined King here as well, I mean, he's focusing on getting rid of Carlos's God. And when you're a Caitlyn that is against a team like this that doesn't have a lot of sort of tanky lineup, like, it's only Huey that he has to worry about. His auto attack's going to be tearing through the likes of Rich Homie and Chenny Boy.
It's a great thing to point out as well. Carlos's God is also a big problem here for anyone on Rich Gang, especially the short-range Corki. I mean, Spirit Visage done now. That's a good item against Lysandra and Xerath especially. Does need a bit of armor. I'd expect the random ones to come through, but this Aurelia is going for 3 really big items here. The big damage one for Trinity Force and 2 big tank items, you have to think. And if that syncs up nicely with the Caitlyn, at that point in the game, 4Not's comp should start winning.
Oh yeah, and especially if that Void stuff comes through from Moya as well. That is a time when they can definitely make things happen. And this is a team that's proven that their teamfight synergy is fantastic. That being said, on the other side, Rich Gang also proven a very similar thing. So we'll see whether these late game fights are going to go the way of 4Not or whether it's just going to be Rich Gang understanding their capabilities.
I mean, you mentioned Void stuff, and I do like their pickup on Orianna, but I would not hate Ozonia's here either from Moya.
Yeah.
A little bit more safety and just a lot more flat AP. Huey, oh, Naya, sorry.
He's looking for the Sonic Wave, just flashes into it. Chenny Boy getting focused down, gets shut down, and the Monsoon trying to heal them up, but it's not enough. Look at these members, they're so squishy. Carlos's God is on a rampage throughout this fight. Huey so incredibly low on what looks like an immortal Rek'Sai. The flash over the wall, there it is, not immortal this time. Words eaten immediately as 4Not, they turn around that fight 3 for 1.
And again, Rich Homie can't find the right fight for his team. Day Shifter wasn't in position to do any damage. You can't really peel off Aurelia, especially with the long-range Caitlyn and the Orianna. And 4Not just kind of went in. They ulted Naya, who's the squishy tank basically here of 4Not, and that let everyone else just do whatever they wanted.
Yeah, and Naya's sacrificial playstyle in this Lee Sin is beautiful to watch as well. And let's watch it again.
Yeah, I mean, here's Chenny Boy going and get kicked by Naya and immediately gets ulted, but Carlos's God is on top of him. They get the kill there very quickly, and Carlos's God is just going off in the backline. The ulti hit one person there by Moya just to peel someone off, and Aurelia is going to keep chasing here. Huey thinks he's safe here, but that Blade Surge coming back off, and Huey gets melted. Pop over the wall, goodbye.
Yep, just hidden style Blade Surge. Easily able to pick up that kill with that Trinity Force there as well. And man, now has a giant spell. So this Aurelia gonna be huge coming into this later stage of the game. And Rich Gang, they sort of just look like they thought that they were ahead far more than they were.
I mean, they had a great plan here. I mean, they're still ahead a few thousand gold, which is actually okay. They're up in Dragons as well, so they're looking to keep moving through and snowball that objective. That's actually the biggest thing for this team, is they've stayed true to their Dragon control style. And when you have a fairly low damage comp like Rich Gang do, getting the 5th Dragon pushes you over the edge, even if you wouldn't normally be that competitive in the late game.
Yeah, and they're able to clear out these wards from the Dragon, but of course, when there's multiple wards put down, Rich Gang not going to have an opportunity, and 4Not, they're now in position to try and contest, and you can see Rich Gang, their complete attitude to this is turned around. They're playing very defensively. Rich Homie is going to start off that Dragon. He's now here, does have that Frozen Tomb available now that he's used that teleport to get in. Trying to throw some Qs around from the side, but 4Not are staying grouped up. They're staying together. Carlos in that front side, and they're going to be able to take down this Dragon that successfully taken by Naya, but look at the front line. Carlos's God is getting destroyed. Takes a long time to die, but there's the flash for the Unburrow. Moya gets eliminated, and Rich Gang try and turn around this fight. Day Shifted is going to get taken by CJ. He was so far up. Chenny Boy takes a lot of damage here as well, but the Caitlyn left on their own. The Unburrow here as well. Right to the arcane from Chenny Boy, and he is going to be able to even add damage from that far away. Zaldo trying to get over. The fail flash from Huey was a little bit adorable, but it doesn't matter because Zaldo has no health and no flash. He just gets unburrowed and aced. 4Not get the Dragon, but that's not enough.
I mean, it's not bad to deny that Dragon, but 4Not paid a big price there for that one. And I was about to compliment Carlos's God for his name because he looked like God in these next upcoming fights, but he just went in again a little too deep. When you initiate on teams that have high damage, especially Corki's Aurelia, is actually looking for a Warmongs, it looks like here, and that's not the armor that he's looking for against, I guess, what is a fairly mixed damage Corki, but Carlos died way too quickly that no one for 4Not could really follow up. Moya couldn't find a good shockwave. Aurelia either didn't give him one or just couldn't find one. and Rich Gang just managing to get that kill. Day Shifted almost threw that fight by Valkyring in to try and kill Caitlyn, but there's enough damage there for the rest of Rich Gang, and they cleaned house.
Still though, CNJ 40 CS lead. The makings of an Infinity Edge now coming through from Day Shifted though. When he hits that item, it's going to be very, very scary. But CNJ, 3 items strong now on this Aurelia, on this Caitlyn, looking probably for that last BF sword to really hit that mark where he's doing a whole lot of damage. But very respectable scoreline. 50 CS in the lead. Not going too badly. Hoping to get to that late stage without just getting blown up.
Yeah, looking really good here at CNJ. He's about a Vampiric Scepter away from really starting to elevate himself to a very strong stage. Naya's caught completely out of position.
Yeah, Naya's sort of running the wrong base at this stage. He just gets frozen, tombed, and destroyed. The follow-up trying to come through here as Zaldo's getting eliminated. CNJ just going to get popped immediately as the knocked-up Caitlyn just cannot do anything. Moya as well. Command attacks himself. Oh my gosh, Carlos is able to get in there and do some work, but it's not enough. Only losing one now are Rich Gang, and they really turned it on. Realized that 4Not not to be toyed with. And they're ridiculous now in these fights.
I mean, look, Rich Gang definitely respected some of the power coming through, but 4Not may have underestimated just how much damage Rich Gang do. I said that they get outscaled here, and that's true, but it's not by that much. Corki might be a short-range carry that drops off compared to Caitlyn, especially as far as range goes, but Daishin still does absurd amounts of damage, and Chenny Boy has so much AP here as well. 4Not keep engaging in really awkward spots here. It's the same thing here. Rich Gang have had some fights where Rich Homies went too far in, and now Naya and Carlos have kind of done the same here. 4Not need to have a cohesive fight. Orianna Shockwave in the last 2 team fights specifically hasn't really gone anywhere. The last one was great, but it was too late there.
Yeah, it was, and I think it was a lot to do with Naya just getting caught out of position yet again. It's just a little bit unfortunate here that 4Not can't orchestrate the fights that they want. They do have the Locket of the Iron Solari already completed now for Naya. That is going to be huge against this double AP. But is it too little too late?
I mean, maybe. 4Not still have chances here if they can keep scaling up, but when you're expecting to outscale a team and you have to fight back from this sort of gold deficit, the issue becomes that your opponents keep getting stronger as you do as well. And then all of a sudden, where you were hoping to beat like 3 item versus 3 items, you're playing 4v4 or 5v5 as far as items go, and that's just a much more even playing field.
Yeah, they might have to wait until the stage where 6 items are being completed and, Rich Gang are going to have to sit around with sort of 3,000 gold sitting in their back pocket, which, as Rich Gang, probably going to be okay with.
Well, sure. I mean, thematically, it works very well with their team, but I mean, that's not a good spot for 4Not to be in. When you get to that sort of hyper late game, 6 items versus 6, fights suddenly become very complicated and very execution heavy, and it's a dangerous place to be because every mistake from that stage of the game means a lot. 4Not had a real chance here to just get in ahead with their comp and just start winning against Rich Gang, but the last few fights have not gone the way they should have, and Rich Gang still, again, in good control of the Dragon despite losing the last few, have played very well. And now all of a sudden, these inventories look very full for Rich Gang when realistically 4Not should be an item ahead as far as their scaling goes.
Yeah, well, it's true. And like you said, I mean, it's their scaling that's sort of going to inherently put them ahead, but see whether it is actually going to be enough here. As CNJ, he's been playing so far forward this game. Yeah,
I mean, maybe a little aggressive here on the Caitlyn, but 4Not just aren't setting up for the team comp they built for themselves. They've got CNJ on a comfort pick on Caitlyn. Moya's comfortable on this Orianna as well. Carlos had a great start here on Aurelia and was really in a position to start taking over with his 3 tank items, but they just they went a little too early on the fights, and instead of 3 items versus 3 items where Aurelia, Orianna, and Caitlyn are much better than their counterparts, it's 3 to 4 mostly on the Rich Gang side who have more money. That's not an even fight. That's not a fight we expected to win if you're looking to push over towards the mid-late game, and that's where you win. 4Not have basically not played well to the win conditions, and Rich Gang have.
Yeah, they certainly have. And now using this Baron to get rid of all of the inner turrets left up here on the side of 4Not. Now easily going to be able to take that bottom one. No hope of defending it coming through from 4Not. It's looking like the beginning of the end. We'll see whether 4Not can get the dream fight for themselves, because otherwise they're just bleeding gold. 11,000 is the gold lead here. And it was pulled back to 3K before that epic fight from before.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the issue. Rich Gang, after those last 2 team fights, have snowballed a massive gold lead. And 4Not, who, again, were poised to take what was a close to even game and sort of really even it up and where they're ahead, they're just too far behind at this point. I mean, maybe the thing here for 4Not that they can be happy about is that Rich Gang, if they love taking dragons, are looking to take the next 2, and that will buy them maybe 10 to 12 minutes. But Rich Gang here going to take their 4th. 4Not might try and take it, but it's a very dangerous fight.
They are grouping up here, trying to find something. Rich Homie, though, playing very far forward. Wants to get that Frozen Tomb before the fight even starts. Pushing power to come through now from that 4th dragon. Easily secured from Rich Gang and 4Not. They have to just slink back to their base.
Yeah, I don't know if they have any Baron buff left, unfortunately. Rich Gang, no, I think it's dropped now, so not going to get the combined Baron plus the 4th dragon to push in, but still plenty of power here. And Rich Gang don't really need to do anything. They've got a massive lead. Sure, take the Baron if it comes back up in time, but honestly, just make sure you get the 5th dragon and push in and win the game.
Yeah, that is generally the theory. And, of course, another 6 minutes until that dragon is up. Probably about 4 until Baron respawns here as well, as Rich Gang poised to be able to pick that one up. A nice pink ward here from 4Not. Still going to spot out the fact that they lost that blue buff. And only 1 inner turret remaining here on the map for 4Not. But Rich Gang, they don't have all that much siege.
No, it's actually kind of awkward to see through this comp. I mean, they could dive, which isn't the worst thing ever, and they can poke people off with Chenny Boy Xerath, but the short-range Corki always sort of is a bit weird in siege comps when you can't threaten under a tower and really get Corki safely into to get Trinity Force procs on the turrets, especially the inhibitor ones, which take a little while longer. They're quite a bit more durable. Sieging in the late game takes a bit of time here for Rich Gang, and again, they'd been able to take their 5th dragon, which was what the last one would have been there if they hadn't lost the first few. Then they would be in a much better spot here to try and break. As a result, 4Not are going to buy some time here. Just 6 minutes is probably not enough time for 4Not in this game.
Oh no, it's still 11,000 gold the lead, and they've conceded their jungle. All of those camps now going over to Rich Gang. They can't escape from their own base to pick up the farm. You can see that top wave. That's even in the middle of the lane, but Carlos's God has no right to be there.
I mean, he can go if he wants. He's got his teleport. It's not the worst thing, actually, to sort of keep Rich Gang away from your turrets, but there's so little vision that they can realistically get. They have to play so far back that even if Carlos's God does split push, he's probably just going to get ganked, and then that really doesn't achieve anything but get a little bit of farm across the map. And 4Not need a little more than just a bit of farm.
Oh, yeah. That is the understatement of this game so far. Warden's Mail now finally completed from Carlos's God, going towards that Randuin's after the Warmogs was completed. Rich Gang now just going to take this Scuttle Crab. It's going to get destroyed by Huey as Baron is up in another minute. So the game calmed down, of course, 4Not not wanting to leave the base for anything other than that Baron, now trying to get in and get some vision down. Of course, Rich Gang unspotted by a ward here. Naya actually coming through, kick, stage shifted right into the fight. It's a 2-man Shockwave doing decent work. The bubble onto Huey as well means that he can't do any more disrupting as Chenny Boy comes in, and look at Rich Gang's damage. The triple kill for Rich Homie coming in. And Rich Gang, I mean, it's a decent effort from 4Not to try and make something happen, but Rich Gang easily turn it around.
I mean, they had 2 choices, 4Not, in this situation. Try and make something happen and find a miracle fight, or just wait it out and hope Rich Gang didn't end the game before we could get to super late game and just see if even it up there and try and win. Rich Gang after that amazing fight. Chenny Boy coming late to a couple of these fights, but made it big in that one when it mattered. And 4Not, a valiant effort, but too far behind at that stage of the game.
Yeah, the inhibitor's going to fall down. 14 seconds now on the lowest member here for 4Not. They may just follow this small trail of minions into the base as these Nexus turrets getting torn apart. Huey going very deep onto Carlos, who's not going to stay in that Frozen Tomb for long, but the next row of minions, and Rich Gang, 5 men strong, are going to push down the Nexus.
Yeah, Nexus is going to explode here. I mean, 4Not will try and defend it, but that's going to be it. And Rich Gang, a bit of a slower game when they used to for them, but very decisive towards the end. And the middle of that game looked very shaky for both teams. Rich Gang gave up a few dragons that I didn't expect from them, and 4Not picked a great comp and looked good early, but never really followed it through in the mid game, and that's where Rich Gang have almost all of their power.
Yeah, Rich Gang really looking fantastic towards that later stage, but was shaky there. As you mentioned, 4Not coming back through, but you have to say the focus on Moya in the mid lane, he got punished over and over again from Huey, from Homie. Rich Homie just comes in and wrecks him randomly at level 6, and there was no way for this Oceania to get back into the game.
Yeah, we have a replay here as well, so let's bring that up and see just exactly how strong Rich Gang looked. It's a fight towards the end. I'll roll the clip out now as well, and this, you can see now, Naya tries to go in. He actually gets a great kick here, and the shockwave's not bad, but it only gets on 2. Chenny Boy's poking his ult in, and Huey just, he's pretty tanky. He's actually sponging a decent amount of damage, and 4Not are completely split around this Baron. A very quick triple kill that comes through for Rich Homie, and that was a very quick last fight there. And you can tell, when you're that far ahead in gold, 4Not, who really looked for some strong fights towards the mid-game, never found them, and they tried the desperation move and just got destroyed.
Yeah, and it was just the AoE CC as well. It was just a lot too much. And Chenny Boy's positioning, although, yeah, he was late a little bit to these fights, still able to stay in that backline and get so much damage from range. And his Rite of the Arcane Bolts were just fantastic.
Yep.
So we'll see.
Being late as Xerath is not the same thing as being underfarmed as Orianna. And that was kind of the flavor of that game there. I mean, Orianna, I didn't mention it enough. I feel bad now given the way the matchup played out, but when you don't get your 2-item power spike as Orianna, you never do anything with your shockwaves. And Orianna twice now in the LPL has felt quite underwhelming. I mean, it's a comfort pick for a lot of these players, but teams have to play around their win conditions more effectively, and 4Not just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, unfortunate, but we are going to stay with Rich Gang as their final test is about to come up against the Dire Wolves. So don't go anywhere. We'll see where the Dire Wolves are going to fall yet again today.